Representative Rita Harris is behind a bill that she says will give people with disabilities more self-sufficiency. Coming up, we're going to talk to her in Tallahassee about that legislation and her other priorities for the rest of the session. Political Connections will be right back. Welcome back to Political Connections. As the legislative session marches on, many state lawmakers are working to build bipartisan support for their bills and hopefully get them across the finish line. State Representative Rita Harris is one of those elected officials, and our Ybeth Bruzual recently had the chance to sit down in the state rep's office to unpack some of those efforts, including a proposal to give Floridians with disabilities access to better health care. Here's that interview now.
Okay, we're focusing on all things District 44. Representative Harris here on the show. We met with you a couple of years ago when you had never done a TV interview. You were running for office, and you granted Spectrum News an interview. So fast forward, you just won in November an overwhelming support from voters. I think it was over 65%. So here we go. You're now an expert. Are you a veteran when it comes to all things Tallahassee?
Oh, I wouldn't say expert, but definitely come in knowing a little bit more, but still so much more to know.
I see you wearing flats.
Yes.
So you definitely know the tricks of the trade of running around here.
Got to get around this Capitol quickly.
We're going to get to the House bills that you're working on, sponsoring, co-sponsoring in a minute, but there's something that I want to point out to you. I saw you recently, Remembrance of Life. For Senator Geraldine Thompson, and I saw you, if you don't mind me sharing this, a very emotional moment when her pictures were being put up. How did she change your life? How did she impact you?
She's just, first of all, just an incredible and amazing public servant. You know, she was a legislative aide in the 70s and then became an elected official, but she also served as a teacher, which is also momentous. You know, and as the mother of a woman who is biracial Black woman, you know, it can't be discounted what she's done to ensure that Black history is preserved, Black American history is preserved in Central Florida with the Wells-Built Museum. And I feel so grateful to have been able to be in her space and know her while she was here with us.
In the sanctuary, Majestic Life Church was filled with so many Democrats, but there were also many Republicans that showed up, and they projected her one of her interviews. Where she said, you know, Black history is Florida history, as everybody sat and listened and remembered a life well lived. Okay, let's get to it. HB 1373, Medical Coverage Assistance Program for Working Individuals with Disability. Walk us through exactly what you hope to accomplish with this bill.
Right. So people who have disabilities and need a lot of services, they have to stay under a certain income threshold in order to continue with their services, which unfortunately keeps people in some cases in poverty. And so this, I feel like, is an economic issue. It would allow people to make more money, and it would allow people to live up to their capabilities, what they're able to do. And they would be able to buy in to Medicaid to keep their services. And that's another point I'd love to make, because this would not cost the state any money, and they are buying into their own services. So I feel like this is a really good fiscally responsible bill, and actually it had bipartisan support. Last session it was filed in the Senate by Senator Joe Gruters. I've had Republican colleagues tell me that they are interested in this bill, that they think it's a good idea.
So what is different now than last go around if you're getting this bipartisan support, and anything that has to do really with special needs, children or adults, is something that's very, you know, very near and dear to a lot of legislators' hearts. So what do you think is different this time?
Well, I mean, I know there's been some hesitancy with the word Medicaid, and so I think for some people that was an issue to support, which is why we were very careful to not put that in the title of the bill, because it's not Medicaid in the traditional sense. It is being able to buy into those services, and I think that's part of why we're able to kind of get more support for the bill this time.
And being a productive member of society, I think, is goal one.
Right.
And the common denominator for someone who's Republican or Democrat, it's we want to help that part of our, you know, society out for sure.
People want to be independent. People want to be as independent as they can possibly be, and this would allow people to be independent. And if you've gone to school for you know, a degree, or you've learned a trade, you want to be able to go out and do that.
And I know a lot of special needs families, there's always a degree of concern and preparation when special needs folks are, when they're children. But as the years go by, they become teenagers and adults, and you have to help them navigate this very difficult world. You're a co-sponsor of HB 35, Heat Illness Prevention. We are in the Sunshine State.
Right.
Triple digit feels like the heat index. That's the norm for all of us across the state of Florida. So what does this do exactly? When I looked into it, I thought it was something about children in car seats. No. This is about in the workplace.
This is about protecting workers, and so part of the argument against allowing counties to make their own ordinances was that it's very difficult, and it makes a lot of sense for certain industries if it's a patchwork of regulations throughout the state. Well, if in Osceola it is this regulation but in Orange, but you're working on a project that goes across the lines, that could create issues. This would raise the standards, but it would make them consistent across the state.
Okay.
And I feel like that's really helpful to a lot of industry who did express concerns about the fact that they didn't want to work within a regulatory, inconsistencies, but also protect the workers. As you said, it is a very, the heat index is very high. We're in a state, we're in a state, not every state needs to do this. Some states have to do this for cold weather. And in the state of Florida, this is something that we need to look into for our workers when it comes to hot weather.
Let's move on to HB 139. This has to do with pawn shops. And I've talked with different legislators as we're roaming around the hallways of the Capitol here at the state. And Democrats, Republicans have brought this up. And this is in conjunction with, you've got Susan Placencia, a Republican, and also Democrat, Johanna Lopez. And so what does this do exactly? Let me get this straight. This has to do with going away from paperwork to digital. You think that would be happening already? Right.
Yeah, this would just allow modernization to happen. So, and I really wanted to support, a really good piece of legislation from one of my colleagues. We do try to support each other, and like you said, it's bipartisan. And I think we always try to look for ways where we can work together to show people that we do work together in this space.
And this is not on my notes, but I don't even know if you want to touch on this, or what your involvement may be, or just your opinion on it. There's a bill I know that was being floated around. It was amended in the Senate to mirror the companion bill in the House, and it has to do with school start times. I've seen the hallways with lots of people from, I'm not going to say which county school systems, but Central Florida, and many of them did not want to go on camera because it's a touchy subject. But what do you hear on that front?
A lot of the community, like my constituents, they want the start times to go back to what they want the start times how they were. It has caused a lot of issues with bus pickup times. We already had an issue with bus drivers. We lost a lot through COVID. We're trying to get them back in place, and so it's created a little bit of havoc. And so I think a lot of the community has reached out and said, please, we would like these to go back to what it was.
Okay, so we have to check that also at the local level.
Yes,
because it depends on the county. All right, thank you so much for being on Political Connections. We will keep track of everything you're working on in Tallahassee.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.